Good afternoon, my dear students. Welcome to the 9th Standard Science online classes. Dear students, as we know that we have discussed the epithelium tissue. In the animal tissue, particularly there are the 5 kinds of the tissues are there. So in that, we have discussed about epithelium tissues and their types and where it is located. These are all the concepts we have discussed in the previous class. Dear students, in this session also we are going to discuss some more information related to the animal tissues in the lesson tissues. Epithelial tissue. So as we know that epithelial tissue is consisting of 4 kinds of different types of epithelial tissues are there. One is squamous epithelial tissue, columnar epithelial tissue, cuboidal epithelial tissue and glandular epithelial tissue. So these are all the 4 kinds of epithelial tissues that will be very helpful, and it is located in various parts of our body. Right now, so that all we are already discussed. These are all the concepts in the previous class. So let us quick revise regarding the epithelial tissues and their types. After that, we are going to learn some more information related to the animal tissue. So in the squamous epithelial tissue, where it is present and how the cells are arranged. So here the squamous epithelial tissues will be consisting of thin flat cells. It is present in the blood vessels, lungs, mouth, esophagus. That esophagus is also called as food pipe. So these are all the organs having are made up of squamous epithelial tissue. And if you come to the columnar epithelial tissue, it is a tall pillar-like cells. So whatever the pillars while constructing the home or the buildings, will the engineer will be put on a pillars, no? So just like a pillar-like structures, that squamous or columnar epithelium tissues are will be made. So it is just like a pillar-like structures. It is present in the, where it is present means this columnar epithelial tissues is present in the small intestine, walls of the small intestine, and as well as this columnar epithelial tissue is present in the respiratory system. So we will be seeing in the respiratory system there is a finger-like projections, that is we call it as ciliated columnar epithelial tissue. That finger-like projections is present in the respiratory tract, so that is we call made up of columnar epithelial tissue. And the third one is cuboidal epithelial tissue. So it is a basement membrane. There is a cone shaped like structures and having the basement membrane, and as well as this will be found out in the kidney, tubes, tubules and ducts of salivary glands, and will be, and also it will be provide the mechanical support to the whatever the internal organs. And glandular epithelial tissue is present where the glands are present in our body, and it will be very helpful to secrete the substances or the chemical substances, and this tissue we call it as glandular epithelial tissue. So these are all the concepts we are discussed in the previous class right now. So let us discuss some more informations related to the animal tissue. Dear students, one more very important tissue, that is we call it as muscular tissue. So where these muscular tissues are present, how it will be very helpful to our body. See, this tissue will be very helpful to movement of the body. This muscular tissue will be very helpful for the movement of our body. It will be consisting of elongated cells called as muscle fibers. So that muscle tissue is made up of elongated muscle fibers, and then it will be consisting of a protein that is called as contractile protein. So whatever the muscle tissues is present, that muscle tissues is having one specially modified protein, that is we call it as contractile protein. This contractile protein will be very helpful for the contraction and relaxes. So the contraction of the muscles and relaxation of the muscles will be takes place because of the chemical substance or the protein is present in the muscle tissue, that is we call it as contractile protein. So what is the very function of this contractile protein? Dear students, this contractile protein is very helpful in the movement of the muscles. Will be movement in our muscles. Okay, so there are the 2 types of the muscle fibers that we will be find out in our body. There is voluntary muscles and involuntary muscles. What do you mean by voluntary muscles? So that muscles, whatever it is there, that is in our control. In our control, we can easily control that muscle movements, so that we call it as voluntary muscles. For example, while moving our hands, our movement of the hands we can easily control, right? No. So while moving of our legs, our movement of our legs we can easily control, right? No. If you take the talking, so that lower jaw will be movements will be takes place, that movement we can easily control. When we close the mouth, that voice never comes out, right? No. So which means it is in our control, we can easily control that all the activities. Such a kind of muscles we call it as voluntary muscles. And the second one is involuntary functions or involuntary muscles. Involuntary muscles is nothing but these muscle movements is not in our control. Voluntary means that is in our control, we can easily control that. Involuntary means we can't able to make the control. So such a kind of muscles or the tissues we call it as involuntary muscles. Can you give me the example for the involuntary muscles? Yes. So as we know that the heartbeats. So is it possible to control that heartbeats? It is highly impossible, right? No. Is it possible to control our respiration? It's highly impossible, right? No. So it is not in our control. If you make to do the control of this, that person become death. So that's why. So whatever the muscle movements of heartbeats, respiration, so these are all we call it as, and various biological process will be takes place in our body. These are all is not in our control. It is in a systematic process that will be takes place in the body. So this kind of involuntary activities will be controlled by the involuntary muscles. So which is not in our control. It is automatically it will be takes place in our body. Such a kind of muscles we call it as involuntary muscles. So can you tell me what is the difference between voluntary and involuntary muscles? Yes, voluntary muscles means that muscles which can move or which activities we can control ourselves. So such a kind of muscles we call it as voluntary muscles. So involuntary muscles means which do not move under our control or which do not control, which means they are not in our control. So such a kind of muscles we call it as involuntary muscles. Apart from this, so there are the three types of the muscles are there. Straightened muscles, unstraightened muscles or smooth muscles, and cardiac muscles. So these are all the three kinds of the muscles that we are seen in the muscular tissue. So what is the straightened muscles? So these are all the voluntary muscles having light and dark striations. These cells are long, cylindrical and multinucleated, which means it will be having more number of nucleus in that cells. They are also called as skeletal muscles because that stratified muscles or striated muscles, they will be attached to the skeleton system. That's why it is also called as skeletal muscles. So what is the main function of this skeletal muscle? Yes. So this will be shows voluntary actions, which means this will be that skeletal muscle will be play a major role in the voluntary movements of the body. Understood? No? Whatever the voluntary actions that will be takes place, these all will be held by the help of skeletal muscles. And the second one is smooth muscles. As we know that the smooth muscles will be actively involved in the involuntary actions or involuntary muscles. So which means smooth muscles we call it also called as involuntary muscles. How the cells are made up of in the involuntary muscles or smooth muscles? As the cells are long, spindle shaped. Spindle means it is a sharp edges and are uninucleated, which means it having only one nucleus in that. So whatever in the skeletal muscle, we will be find out the multinucleated, which means more nucleus we will be find out in a skeletal muscle. But in the smooth muscles, we will be find out only uninucleated. Uninucleated means only single nucleus is present in that, and they are present in alimentary canal, blood vessels, lungs, bronchi of lungs, iris of eyes, etc. So whatever the smooth muscles is there, that is involuntary muscles, these are all will be present in the blood vessel, lungs, bronchi of the lung. Bronchi means nothing but the group of air bags is present in the, or air balloons is present in the lungs. So that is that group of air bags or air balloons, we call it as bronchi. And iris of eyes, these all will be present, are made up of smooth muscles. And the next one is very important muscle that is present in our body, that is cardiac muscle. This cardiac muscle is also as a kind of involuntary muscles. Why? Because do you know where this cardiac muscles is present? Yes. So this cardiac muscles is present in the heart. What is the main function of this cardiac muscles? Contracting and relaxing of our heart. So how the cells are arranged in the cardiac muscles? So these are all the involuntary muscles, and the cells are long, cylindrical, branched, and here also we will be find out the multinucleus. And they are present in the heart and will be very helpful for the contraction and relaxation of the heart. So as we know that the sound of the heart, that is a lub dub, right now. So this lub dub sound will be obtained because of the contraction and relaxation of the heart. As we know that heart is made up of cardiac muscles. These cardiac muscles will be play a major role in the contraction and relaxation of the heart. I hope you understand the different kinds of muscular tissues, that is a skeletal muscles, smooth muscles, and cardiac muscles.